A very good morning to one and all present here, and thank you for joining us today on the third day International Conference 2020, quarterly organized by Department of Zoology and Biotechnology. I am Musna, President of Zoological Sorority at Zoology Department LCWU. This is the first conference in the history of our department which is completely conducted on digital platforms due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It is our pleasure to introduce you the esteemed guests on the third day of conference who have come from various walks of life. From the dignitaries from the US to the dignitaries from Thailand and Canada, we have left no stone unturned to make this conference a true international conference. Here we start our final session of Conference 2020. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يعوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. In the name of Allah, the most merciful and the most beneficent. Allah, there is none worthy of worship, but He is the ever-living and the sustainer by whom all subsist. No slumber can seize Him, nor sleep. To Him alone belongs whatsoever in the heaven and whatsoever is in the earth. Who is dead, intercede with Him except by His leave. He knows all that was before them and all that shall be after them. But they can grasp nothing of His knowledge, that except which He may will. صدق الله العظيم.
قلب بالحق تعلق وبغاره راع تعلق يبكي يسأل خالقه فعتاه الوحي فأشرق اقرأ اقرأ يا محمد السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك حبيبي يا نبي الله يا رسول الله يا طيبة جئت بسبعة لرسول الله محبة بالرودة سكنت روحي وجوار الهادي محمد يا طيبة جئت بسبعة لرسول الله محبة بالرودة سكنت روحي وجوار الهادي محمد صل على محمد السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله يا رسول الله.
Our first speaker for the day will be Dr. Imran Ali. He is a tenured assistant professor at the Institute of Biochemistry, University of Balochistan, Quetta. He has a PhD in food engineering and bioprocess technology and a postdoctorate in botany from Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok, Thailand. He has published over a dozen national and international papers in peer-reviewed journals. Dr. Imran will be presenting his talk titled Comprehensive Understanding of Influenza Pandemics with focus on COVID-19 influenza virus. Sir, kindly join us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. So the topic for this presentation is comprehensive understanding of influenza pandemics with a focus on COVID-19 influenza virus. I'm Imran Ali from the Institute of Biochemistry. I'm an assistant professor over there at University of Balochistan. The main purpose of this presentation is to let you understand that what are the influenza pandemics and how COVID is another part of it, and what it has been in the past and what we can expect in the future from this COVID-19 influenza virus. So in current COVID-19 pandemic, is it really the virus or is it nocebo effect creating panic in patients? So I'm putting this question for the audience. There are two kinds of effects which are called as the placebo effect and the nocebo effect. So the placebo effect is the one in which just a distilled water can act as a kind of a medicine for the patient. Nocebo is the opposite of that, in which even if you are giving the proper health care to the patients and they are getting the medicines and all those kind of stuff which are required to eradicate that particular disease, but they are getting scared of that and they are not recovering from that. So I'm just putting this question for the audience and they have to answer it by themselves. Is it really the nocebo that we are getting overreacting or over feared by this particular virus, or is it really that so much dangerous by itself? So to understand COVID-19 in particular, we have to understand the influenza viruses. And these particular definitions can fit into that, it is an acute contagious infection of the airways and lungs. It is caused by one of the influenza viruses, and influenza is a term for a viral infection of the respiratory tract caused by the influenza viruses. So these are just three proper definitions, which I think that can actually accumulate what an influenza could be. Is COVID-19 different than other influenza viruses? Again, I'm putting this question in front of the audience, and so obviously, influenza viruses are the disease that they cause is the influenza, and it happens by the virus. COVID could just nothing be other than another new influenza virus. The influenza viruses could be of two types. They can have the pandemic influenza or the seasonal influenza. So the pandemic influenza happens every after 30 to 40 years, and it spreads widely into the humans and causes a death period of or fatalities all over the worldwide in a shorter period of just 2 to 3 months. So that is a pandemic influenza. And seasonal influenza is the one which regularly affects the humans in the winter season or in the allergic seasons, where it affects the population, specifically the elderly population, and they can be at risk of for that. And it can occur in every winter season or any particular allergic seasons that are available to the humanity. So, what is pandemic influenza? A pandemic is a worldwide spread of an influenza affecting all humans and making them sick. And is a word referring all, and the demos is a word that has been taken from there. That is from for the humans, and it can be viewed as hundred of large epidemics occurring in many different countries at the same time. So that's what it makes a pandemic. So it's not just affecting only one country, so if it is affecting worldwide, so that is why it is called as pandemic. So how influenzas, pandemics have affected the world. So we have to, the best thing to learn for the future is to learn from the history actually. And that is where we have to understand that what actually is happening in the previous influenza viruses, pandemics, right? So these three things can happen actually. A new influenza virus emerges, so that can cause a pandemic. It infects human, causing serious illness, and it just spreads easily from human to human. So these three conditions, if are being met, so it can be considered as a pandemic. Historically, three pandemics have occurred in the last century, and these have been 1918 pandemic. There were 40 to 50 million deaths worldwide. There was a 1957 pandemic. There were 2 million deaths worldwide. In the 1968 pandemic, there were 1 million deaths worldwide, and the current COVID has already caused over 0.36 million deaths worldwide already. So, what are the effects of influenza pandemics? The virus will pass from one person to another person. It can be transferred or transmitted from one person to another person. Many people will get sick, and millions may become sick. Many deaths, millions may die. Fear happens, panic. That is, you can see already in the society. Social disruption. People try to move away from each other, and obviously there is an economic side of that one, which is economic losses, which is happening worldwide in every country. So recorded 2 to 3 month scenario of an influenza pandemics, what actually happens in 2 to 3 months? Within a 2 to 3 month periods, 15 to 35% of population may fall sick if it is widely spreading over there. Hospitalization can be from 4 to 5% of the population, they can be hospitalized. And the case fatality, that the people who can actually die from that are 1 to 2% of the sick people. How long influenza pandemics can last generally? So actually, by the historical records, it is from 2 to 3 months, and it can come by the cycles. So it's just not only the one cycle. So it can be like 2 to 3 month cycles within 2 to 3 years. So it is just not that if it is only an year or something, we can think about that COVID is over. No, it's not like that. Historically, readings have shown that records have shown that it could be 2 to 3 years in which the complete 2 to 3 waves of this particular pandemic virus can actually go through with the human society. What happens after an influenza pandemics? As more and more people are exposed to the pandemic virus, immunity develops. There are less and less cases, but humanity must suffer such much disease and death before the immunity develops. That is what is very generally called as a herd immunity. So the pandemic viruses then becomes a human influenza virus, but does not disappear actually. Continues to circulate in the humans. It keeps on coming back. And so even now, if you are having any kind of another influenza, so that could be actually the past pandemics that actually happened before to the humans already. And these causes the seasonal influenza, which we already discussed in the earlier slide. And in seasonal influenza, 1 to 5 people are affected each year. So the population density, like 20% of the people are going to be affected by that. But again, it shows like if it is not that much lethal, that means it has already been into the human system, and the immunity has been developed already. So What are the particular signs for any kind of an influenza virus? So it can be having a fever of the over 38.5 degrees Celsius, or or in general terms, that is 100-degree Fahrenheit. There could be cold chills, dry, cough, body aches, myalgia fevers like that, and sore throat can be one of the signs. But again, these are the co-infections that can actually, because when influenza happens, what happens actually, the immunity gets weak and loose. So it allows the other bacteria and other kind of microbes to attack the human body, and therefore we can have some co-infections happening because of that. So range of symptoms can be nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Encephalitis can be with the children. That is the inflammation in their brain, and approximately the infants can be the ones which actually get affected by the encephalitis. And symptoms can be from the severity of shortness of breath and difficulty in breathing, and even can lead up to a very high conditions of choking, and maybe a less amount of oxygen available for the which can be due to the bronchitis. How it can be prevented, I don't want to go into so much details of that. Obviously, everybody know nowadays about that how you can actually protect yourself from the viruses. You have to wear the face mask. You have to cover yourself when you're sneezing, or and frequently you have to wash your hand. You don't have to touch your eyes all the time. Avoid handshaking. Everybody nowadays is following that. Avoid close contact. Don't go so near to the patients which have already been the COVID ones. Avoid contacts with the live animals. Don't eat the raw food. Always try to eat the cooked food, very well cooked food, and do not eat in the shared utensils, cups, towels, and all those kind of stuff. Recommendations for Pakistan: we just have to improve our sanitizations. We have to make it obligatory for everybody to wear the mask, and even the gloves and the spectacles if it is available or could be possible.
The next speaker is Dr. Shiza Ayaz Khilji. She is an assistant professor at the Department of Botany, University of Education, Lahore. She has a PhD specialization in environmental biotechnology. She has several national and international papers published in peer-reviewed journals. She is also the recipient of Best Paper Award in oral presentation of research paper at the second International Conference on Agriculture, Biological and Environmental Sciences in Pattaya, Thailand. Dr. Shiza will be presenting her talk titled Phytoremediation Potential of Lemongrass Grown in Tannery Sludge Contaminated Soil. Madam, kindly join us for your talk.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. The topic which I am going to discuss today is the phytoremediation potential of lemongrass, Symbopogon flaxus, grown in tannery sludge contaminated soil. This is Dr. Shiza Ayaz Khilji from Department of Botany, Division of Science and Technology, University of Education, Township, Lahore. Generally, in this research paper, I have used the species lemongrass in order to cure the phytoremediation technology, as phytoremediation is one of the safest and sustainable approaches to reclaim the metal contaminated soil. So the present study assessed the phytoremediation potential of lemongrass by growing in different soil amendments along with the tanny sludge concentrations that are 5, 10, 15% tanny sludge plus soil, whereas the soil without mixing of any tanny sludge was taken as control. So after 35 days of growth, the plants were harvested to record the various morphophysiological attributes and the accumulation of various heavy metals in the above and below ground plant parts. Results revealed that the soil mixed with tannery sludge reduced the morphological attributes. For example, like the fresh weight, dry weight, number of roots, number of leaves, number of tillers, and the shoot length up to various degrees less as compared to the control treatment. Moreover, the tannery sludge application enhanced the free radicals, that is due to diphenyl 1 picryl hydrazine DPPH, and also regulated the antioxidant activities. So the overall metal uptake was higher in the root as compared to the shoots, whereas the amount of the heavy metal uptake by the plants was the highest in 15% concentration of tannery sludge. So the overall trend of the metal uptake was recorded like chromium is greater than magnesium, which is further greater than cadmium and all other metal, whereas a minute amount of metal like the lead was recorded in the overall heavy metal contents. So here are some of the contents of this research article, like introduction, methodology, results, conclusion, and the references. So the main theme was to assess the degree of pollution and toxicity in the tannery sludge, the uptake and accumulation behavior of different heavy metals in various parts of the plants like the lemongrass, and the main goal was to assess the phytoremediation potential of the lemongrass in tannery sludge contaminated soil. Now comes to introduction. Like heavy metal contamination of the biosphere has increased sharply since 19th century and poses major environmental and human health problems worldwide. Therefore, an immense interest has been focused on the toxic effect of heavy metals in the plants, as most of the soil act as a sink for these metals. While the tanning industry in the Pakistan is one of the most prominent and potentially polluting industry in terms of the waste generation, containing a very high concentration of metals, particularly being important is the chromium, because it is used during the chrome tanning process in the tanning industry. It is the second most important lead industry that comes after the textile. Leather tanneries in the Pakistan, they produces all three categories of the wastes like solid waste, wastewater, and air emission. Metal bioaccumulation depend upon numerous biotic as well as abiotic factors such as temperature, pH, and dissolved ions in the water. Tannery sludge. The sludge is considered as a source of potentially toxic elements, and its disposal become problematic, especially if it contains several heavy metals. The production of sludge is increasing day by day as a result of wastewater treatment. Sewage sludge is being used in many countries. A potential strategy to remediate the sludge is the use of plants to remove the pollutant from the habitat or render them harmless. Metals in the tannery waste they occur in complex form that vary widely in their availability to the plants. At the trace concentrations, they inhibit various metabolic processes of the plants. So the wastewater treatment plant has been set up in Qusur, Pakistan, that is a district of Lahore, in order to minimize pollution before throwing the effluent of leather industry into the Ruhi Nala. In this treatment unit, KTWMA, which is said to be the Qusur Tannery Waste Management Agency, is a large quantity of toxic sludge is obtained due to the high amount of metal contained in it. It is being dumped into the landfill site after drying. So the phytoremediation is a novel plant-based remediation technology, making use of the green plants to remove pollutant from the environment or to render them harmless. Hyperaccumulator are the plants that have an innate capacity to absorb the metals at the level of 50 to 500 times greater than the average. They have a bioconcentration factor greater than 1, sometimes reaching 50 to 500 times. So the metal accumulating, hyperaccumulating plants are those that have an innate capacity to absorb the metal, and these are not only useful in phytoremediation, but they also play a significant role in biogeochemical prospecting and have implications on the human health through food chain. So this lemongrass, the scientific name is Symbopogon flexuosus, is an economically important herb and widely cultivated over the globe. It is used for versatile purposes. For example, leaves are used as green tea, stems in the soups, poultry items, and the seafoods. Its leaves and inflorescence also produce an essential oil that is used as aromatherapy, perfumes, and medicines. Lemongrass also exhibit various anti-cancerous, antioxidants, antimicrobial, insecticidal, and anti-inflammatory properties. So the polyphenol is a natural polyphenol, it is also a natural antioxidant which is extracted from the lemongrass, has been reported from preventing many diseases like cancers, cardiovascular, and degenerative diseases. Hence, medicinal properties of the lemongrass are well recognized and they are widely acknowledged worldwide. However, its phytoremediation potential in heavy metal contaminated soil was rarely investigated or needed to be explored. Then comes methodology. So many field surveys were carried out in the area of industrial area of Qusur, like in the vicinity of KTWMA, Qusur Tannery Waste Management Agency in 2016. This is a map showing the location of the sampling site, and these are the this is the agency of KTWMA from where the samples were collected. It is actually the treatment plant for tanning effluent installed with the joint collaboration of UNDP and Pakistan Tanneries Association. So the sampling site was this KTWMA with a geographical position at the north and east at an elevation of 641 feet at the Department Road in Qusur. And in this picture, this is the sludge lagoon. Overall, there are 16 lagoons of effluent where the discharge wastewater from the different tanneries coming inside this unit or the treatment plant, and they are still recycled continuously from one to second and so on. And they claim that by reaching the at the 16th lagoon, the effluent becomes free of metal, that is 99% pure water, which they throw directly into the river, nearby river like river Satluj or river Ravi. So Kasur is this is the actual picture of the treatment plant located in the Kasur, and it is said to be KTWMA, and it is located at 641 feet along the Dipapur Road, Kasur. So a wastewater treatment plant has been set up in Kasur in order to minimize pollution before throwing the effluent into the river Nala. The sludge lagoon, after 16 lagoon, there was an area of the lagoon where they have dumped all the sludge, which is a semi-solid liquid material, and this is the location from where the samples were collected. Sample of sludge were collected in the large bin or the blue containers, and these were stored into, they were bring to the laboratory for further experimentation. The plants were collected from Botanical Garden of Punjab University. The treatments were comprised of different concentration of tiny sludge mixed with the soil that may be comprised of 0% soil, which served as the control or the blank, having no concentration of the Henry sludge, and 5%, 10%, and the 15%, 15 gram of Henry sludge in this soil amendment. The fresh seedling that were about 6 inches of lemongrass were transplanted at each pod, and they were irrigated regularly with the tap water. So there is some analysis of the pre-sowing physicochemical analysis of soil and sludge. All the pollution parameter, including pH, conductivity, NaCl, were determined by using a multi-parameter pH meter, and the anions such as carbonate, bicarbonate, chlorides, and the cation were estimated tetrametrically according to the protocol given by Said in 1980. Organic matter content were further determined by using the muffle furnace, in which the bulk density of the sludge was estimated by giving this formula, whereas the catalase, including the antioxidant activity, were studied by following the method of Beers and sizes with slight modification. Then antioxidant analysis. How we prepare 0.022% of ascorbic acid solution. We have prepared this solution by following the method of Brand and William et al. In 1995. The ascorbic acid, in this method, the ascorbic acid, which is 2 milligram, was dissolved in 25 ml of distilled water with a constant stirring for about 5 to 10 minutes. Then the final volume of solution was raised up to 1 liter by adding the distilled water. So the prepared solution was saved in the dark bottle in the refrigerator. The standard curve of the ascorbic acid. For sample preparation, 3.9 ml of DPPH with 0.1 ml, which was 100 micrometer of the solution prepared for every dilution of ascorbic acid, was taken in the different tubes. Prepared sample of DPPH was taken as control as well as a blank. So the initial reading of all samples were taken on spectrophotometer at 517 nanometer, which was then kept in dark for 30 minutes to let the reaction takes place. Then the final reading was taken to determine the leftover DPPH. Scavenging activity of DPPH was expressed as optical density OD. So how the plants were prepared, plant extract was prepared. The plant extract for DPPH activity was prepared like by taking 15 gram of the fresh leaf samples and they were air dried in the dark at the room temperature. Then the plant samples were grinded to the fine powder for the extract preparation. The powdered leaves were soaked in 100 ml of 100% methanol and they kept on orbital shaker for 24 hours. After the sample was filtered with Wattman filter paper number 1, it was evaporated by a rotary evaporator to obtain the plant final extracts, which was then diluted for the further experimentation. And overall, the percentage of radical scavenging activity of antioxidant was determined by using this formula. Then digestion of plant and as well as the sludge and soil. Overall, the acid digestion of plant was done in a heating digester and mineralized with equal volume of aqua regia by using two concentrated acids like HNO3, nitric acid and perchloric acid in the ratio 1:4. And the plant material was also, the roots and the shoots were separated. They were washed simply after harvesting with the tap water and they were allowed to dry at room temperature. And finally, they were wrapped separately into the blotting paper and were kept in drying oven at 80 degrees centigrade for 24 hours. After that, after the 24-hour, the roots and the shoots were ground into the fine powder, and then they were allowed to go for the further processing of acid digestion by using this aqua regia mixture. And these samples were diluted up to 50 ml along with the distilled water, and they were further, heavy metals were estimated by using atomic absorption spectrophotometer, and their contents were expressed as milligrams per liter for the sludge sample and milligram per kg for the plant samples. So after the heavy metal estimation, the various morphological parameters were noted down. After 35 days of the growth, they were further observed for their fresh dry weights, number of roots, leaves, tillers per plant, shoot length, and the chlorophyll content were also measured by using the SPAD meter. The least significant difference of the calculated mean was statistically analyzed by using the LSD at the probability 5% among us the mean values. Simple, by using one-way ANOVA. Results. This is the experimental picture of the lemongrass growing in the warehouse of botanical garden, and here is the different amendment showing the replicate 1, replicate 2 and replicate 3 along with control 5%, 10%, 15% after the first and the following the second harvest. And this is again the growth variation of Sympopogon growing in different concentration of tannery sludge at the start of the experiments. This is the concentration of tannery sludge by measuring their morphological parameter at various concentration like blank, which served as a control, then 5, 10 and 15%. So it is the picture of the plant growing after 35 days by comparing the concentration of lemongrass along within the control. So all the physicochemical properties of the soil weighted with a different concentration of the sludge application as shown in this table 1. For instance, the carbonates were found to be absent, that ND means not detected, whereas the bicarbonates were found to be 21, 45, 49 and 56 milligrams per liter in 0, 5, 10 and 15% concentrations of tannery sludge respectively. Moreover, 15% of ternary sludge concentration, like this one, it has highest pH, EC, electrical conductivity, sodium chloride percentage, bicarbonate, chloride, water holding capacity, bulk density, and organic matter percentage in the highest amount than the rest of the concentration of tiny sludge amended soil. Moreover, the amount of heavy metal was further enhanced by increasing concentration of tiny sludge application, whilst the concentration of various heavy metals were remained like chromium is found to be the highest as compared to all other concentration, and the limited or the minute amount of the lead was found in case of highest concentration of ternary sludge amended soil as compared to the control. Various morphological attribute and chlorophyll content were studied in the different concentration of ternary sludge amended soil. Here you can see that the ternary sludge application substantially reduced the morphological characters and chlorophyll content in the lemongrass. For instance, the fresh weight, dry weight, number of roots, number of leaves, number of telomeres per plant, shoot length, and they were all reduced by lowering their values by decreasing the amount of all these parameters as compared to the other parameters in 35 days old plant. Moreover, the chlorophyll content were also decreased by various parameters, in this case by comparing the concentration with each other. The maximum amount of the chlorophyll content was found in case of control, which is represented by 0% of the soil. So the growth variation of lemongrass before and after 35 days of experiment has been presented in this table. So heavy metal concentration, the concentration of metals in case of root and shoot of 35 days old plants by treating under different treatment of tannin sludge concentration. So the concentration of metals in the root and shoot was increased if a dose dependent matter of tannin sludge, and it remained the highest at 15% as represented by this circle, as compared to the other tannin sludge treatments. So the overall trend of metal uptake recorded as chromium being the highest most, then cadmium, after that copper, then nickel, iron, zinc, manganese, and after that lead in the shoots as compared to the roots. So comparatively, the metal content was found to be highest in case of roots as compared to the shoots. Heavy metal content was also reduced after the 35 days of harvesting. The percentage reduction was found to be maximum for chromium, as you can see here in this picture. The percentage reduction, for the percentage reduction for highest concentration of tannin sludge, that is 15% tannin sludge, was found to be for cadmium, that is 23%, chromium concentration of stock solution. Nanometer wavelength of light for control plants. So antioxidant activity increased increasing concentration of the stock solution. Percentage inhibition was 79.3 to 56% in control as compared to various other amendment of tannin sludge concentrations. So this is the variation in antioxidant activity and percentage inhibition overall, showing the overall trend of the lemongrass growing in different concentration of tannin sludge amended soil. Again, this is the antioxidant activity response for the percentage inhibition. After 35 days old plants showing maximum percentage inhibition or decrease in antioxidant activity while increasing concentration of stock solution. Then conclusion, tannery sludge application reduced the morphological growth as well as the chlorophyll content of the lemongrass, and such effects were more prominent at 15% tannin sludge treatment. Moreover, the metal accumulation concentration varied with different tannin sludge treatment. The antioxidant activities were further increased on this treatment of tannin sludge than the control, whereas overall trend of metal uptake was recorded as chromium is greater than cadmium, greater than copper, greater than nickel, iron, zinc, magnesium, which is further greater than lead, both in case of root and shoot under all tannin sludge amended soils treatment. So the study suggests that lemongrass has phytoremediation potential and could be grown to cleanse the metal contaminated soil. Hence, it is a cost-effective technology to remediate the heavy metal pollution after the sludge becomes non-toxic. After many crop rotation, it can be used to fertilize and improve the soil quality. So here is a list of our references. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Dr. Asma Abdul Latif. She is a tenured associate professor at the Department of Zoology, Lahore College for Women, University Lahore. She has been with the department since 2004. She has been trained in the field of molecular biology and parasitology from the University of Arizona, USA. She has had 6-month training from the School of Veterinary Sciences at the University of Queensland, Australia. She has published several national and international papers in peer-reviewed journals and contributed chapters in 5 books. Madam will join us for her presentation titled Echinococcus granulosus. Madam, please present your talk.
Echinococcus granulosus. Human echinococcus is a parasitic disease caused by tapeworm of the genus Echinococcus. The 2 most important forms of the disease in humans are cystic echinococcus, it is also known as hydatidosis, and alveolar echinococcus. Humans are infected through ingestion of parasite eggs in contaminated food, water or soil, or after direct contact with animal hosts. More than 1 million people are affected with echinococcus at any one time. Morphology. Tapeworm forms 3 different developmental stages: eggs, larvae, adults as well. Larvae is also known as protoscolysis. Adult Echinococcus granulosus worms are small in size and has about 2 to 6 mm long size and have a scolex with only 3 attached segments. The scolex has 4 lateral suckers and rostrum is non-retractable and armed with a double crown of 28 to 50 recurved hooks. The interior segment is immature. The middle segment is mature with functional testes and ovaries. The posterior segment is gravid with the uterus filled with eggs. Eggs are typical for most tanid species and are small and round, thick-shelled and contain a hexagon structure. Encysted larva stage is also contains the bladder worms or hydatid, and it produces the multiple infective stages. Geographic distribution: Echinococcus granulosus occurs particularly worldwide and more frequently in rural grazing areas where dogs ingest organs from infected animals. Echinococcus granulosus is found in Africa, Europe, Asia, the Middle East, Central and South America, in rare cases North America. Host: Echinococcus granulosus definitive hosts are wild and domestic canids. Natural intermediate hosts depend on genotype. Intermediate hosts for zoonotic species or genotypes are usually ungulates, including sheep, goat, and cattle, camels, and cervers. That is the life cycle of common hydatid cyst, which is formed in different organisms. There are basically 2 hosts: definitive host and intermediate host. Man is the accidental host. Life cycle of this organism outside of the human can be summed up in 6 stages. The adult Echinococcus granulosus, which is about 3 to 6 mm in length, resides in bowel of its definitive host. Gravid proglottids release the eggs that are passed in the feces. These eggs are then ingested by suitable intermediate hosts, including sheep, goats, swine, cattle, horses, and camels. The eggs then hatch in bowels and release oncospheres that penetrate the intestinal wall. These oncospheres then migrate through the circulatory system to various organs of the host. At the organ site, the oncosphere develops into a hydatid cyst. This is enlarged, gradually producing protoscolices and daughter cysts that fill the cyst interior. These cysts containing the organs are then ingested by the definitive host, causing infection. After injections, the protoscolices evaginate, producing the protoscolices. The scolices of organisms attach to the intestine of the definitive host and develop into the adults in 30 to 80 days. The life cycle of continues in humans. The humans can become infected if they ingest the subcutaneous substances infected with the Echinococcus eggs. The eggs then release oncospheres in the small intestine. At these places, the oncospheres migrate through the circulatory system and produce the hydatid cyst. That is the complete life cycle of the Echinococcus granulosus, which is completed through the 2 host definitive host as well as the intermediate host. Intermediate hosts are the sheep, goats, swine, etc. Definitive host is the dogs and other canids. This one is the 5th number, shows the protoscolices, which is the larval stage. The other structure shows the growing stage of this adult, which is reside in the small intestine of the man. Man is the accidental host. Symptoms: abdominal pain, nausea, and vomiting are commonly seen when hydatids occur in the liver. If the lung is affected, the clinical signs include the chronic cough, chest pain, and shortness of breath. Other signs depend on the location of the hydatid cyst and the pressure exerted on the surrounding tissues. Non-specific signs include anorexia, weight loss, and weakness. Diagnosis: the presence of cyst-like mass in a person with a history of exposure to sheep, dogs in an area where the Echinococcus granulosus is endemic suggests a diagnosis of cystic echinococcus. Imaging techniques such as CT scans, ultrasonography, and MRIs are used to detect cysts. After a cyst has been detected, serological tests may be used to confirm the diagnosis. Treatment: in the past, surgery was the only treatment for cystic echinococcal cyst. To replace the surgery, effective treatments for the cystic echinococcus are chemotherapy, cyst puncture, and PAIR. that is the precutaneous aspiration, injection of chemicals, and re-aspiration. Anti-infective drug treatment, however, surgery remains the most effective treatment to remove the cyst and can lead to the complete cure. Some cysts are not causing any symptoms and are inactive. Those cysts often go away without any treatment. Prevention and control. Cystic echinococcus is controlled by preventing transmission of the parasites. Prevention measures include limiting the areas where the dogs are allowed, preventing animals from consuming meat infected with the cyst, prevent dogs from feeding on the carcasses of infected sheep, control stray dog populations, restrict home slaughter of the sheep and other livestock, do not consume any food or water that may have been contaminated by fecal matter from dogs. Wash your hands with the soap and warm water after handling dogs and before handling food. Teach children the importance of the washing hands to prevent infections. Thank you.
The last speaker of the day is Miss Umer Rubab. She is a research student at the Department of Botany at Lahore College for Women, University Lahore. Her research supervisor is Dr. Kiran Shehzadi, who is an assistant professor at the Department of Botany, Lahore College for Women, University Lahore. Ms. Umer Rubab's research co-supervisor is Dr. Sumaira Jawad, who is also an assistant professor at the Department of Zoology, Lahore College for Women, University Lahore. Ms. Umer Rubab, kindly present your research work for the audience.
Assalamu alaikum, my dear fellow. I'm Umme Rubab and I'm here to present my thesis. I have done my research work from Lahore College for Women University. The title of my thesis is Effect of Zinc Oxide Nanoparticles on Seed Germination and Vegetative Parameters of Capsicum annum. I have done my work under the supervision of my supervisor, Dr. Kiran Shahzadi, and Dr. Samira Javed. Let's start with the introduction. As we very well know that the production of nitrous food requires a balanced content of micro, meso and essential micronutrients. So it is directly related with the soil. Soil is a principal wellspring of the micronutrients for the plants. Insufficiently in soil is directly connected to the decrease in the food quantity, and also it affect the human health. The nano era that came in the light in 1990s is a dynamic field in science that start the innovation or for the specialist. Nano fertilizer is a that kind of fertilizer in which we use the nanoparticle to improve the plant growth and also increase the fertility of the soil. Nano fertilizer is might be used efficiently to in crops for the control arrival of required amount of nutrients and also to increase the plant development and its growth stages. As we very well know that the zinc is required in human body and also in the plant is in the trace amount, but if it is not available in that required quantity, it create a physiologically imbalance and also disrupt the enzymatic activities and its metabolically process. The method selected for the synthesis of zinc oxide nanoparticle is the ecologically green, which is which is formed by using a plant extract that is non-toxic, risk-free, and also very easier to made as compared to the dot conventional physical and chemical method, which is very expensive, and also the reducing agent are more toxic toward the environment. The Solanaceae is mainly selected for this experiment because it has a huge medicinal and food importance, and also its species are used as an ornamental person. Capsicum annum belong to this family is selected just because of its specific agent capsicum. It which have a numerous valuable properties like antioxidant, antibacterial, and anti-cancerous. The purpose of this research work is mainly to check the efficiency of zinc oxide nanoparticles on growth as a nanofertilizer, to check the improvement in that plants. Methodology: firstly, I have synthesized the nanoparticle afterward to confirm the nanoparticles, characterize the nanoparticle by different operators, and then prepared a certain required concoction. Afterwards, performed a lab experiment which consists of the petri plates up to the germination stage, and then experiment shifted toward the field experiment in which morphological parameters are estimated or evaluated. Synthesis of zinc oxide nanoparticle required. Nigella sativa is required in a certain amount and dissolved in the desalinated water, heated in the microwave, and then add a certain molarity of zinc salt solution to the leaf and let it settle for 24 hours. Filter that extract, allow it to cool down, and centrifuge that particular extract at specific RPM, and then we will obtain the zinc oxide nanoparticles. Result and discussion: this graph shows the germination percentage of capsicum annum treated with the zinc oxide nanoparticle. As we will show that with the increase in the concentration there is a slight increase, so it's respond positively towards nanoparticle. Germination rates show the same trend with the increase in the concentration of nanoparticles. It shows positive response. Shoot length: as we increase the concentration, it also shows positive response with respect to the control one. Root length also of capsicum annum also shows a little bit more increment in with the increase in the concentration with respect to the control and normal salt solution. Plant height also increase with the increase in the concentration of zinc oxide nanoparticles. Plant weight also increase or with the increase in the nanoparticle. This shows that all these attributes shows that with the increase in the concentration that specifically plant in its morphological character, it responds positively towards the nanoparticles. Number of lead: these specified characters it show a tremendous increase with the increase in the zinc oxide nanoparticle. As we move on from week 8 to week 10, there is a double increment in the number of leaves. Leaf areas also increase with the increase in the zinc oxide nanoparticles. To conclude the overall research work, it is concluded that to minimize the zinc shortage in plants, zinc oxide nanoparticles can be utilized as a nanoparticle as it is very eco-friendly, simple to make, risk-free, and no harmful effect on environment. And it is evident from the current research that capsicum annum responds positive towards the zinc oxide nanoparticles. Future prospect of this entire work is, as we very well know, that zinc deficiency is a major hazardous towards the agriculture, and also it badly affect the human health. So this nanoparticle can serve as a center point and landmark to increase or to recure that deficiency. Zinc play a vital role in the development of plant, also in the human health, and also increase the fertility of the soil. Thus, for appropriate implementation of zinc oxide nanoparticles in that particular field, it is recommended that further investigation is mandatory to check the effect of zinc oxide particles on different growth stages of plant to check either it responds positively on that particular plant. Thank you.
Thank you, Rubab. With this last talk, we will now conclude the presentation session of the 3 days international conference on New Trends in Natural Sciences 2020. The last session for this 3 days event is the poster session. We have received many posters for this e-conference, which will be displayed on your screens for your viewing pleasure. Each poster will be displayed for a total of 5 minutes so that the audience can have a detailed look at the poster. The poster cues have already been posted online. Kindly refer to those for guidance. The top 3 posters will be selected by our panel of judges, and the results will be announced online after the conference. With that, kindly sit back and enjoy the poster session that has been meticulously put together by our creative team at the Department of Zoology. Thank you for your patience and please enjoy the show.
Thank you. Here is the end of final day of International Conference 2020. I would like to thank all delegate speakers who joined us from different parts of the world. Thank you university authorities for cooperating with us and Department of Zoology and Biotechnology who didn't let any stone unturned. With high hopes, it is wished we soon will be out of this pandemic and will conduct conference with all of you present here in the auditorium of LCWU. Everyone stay safe and strong. Wish you positive vibes. This is your host Muzna signing off. Take care, stay blessed. Thank you.